In this video, we're gonna break down exactly how much you need to retire early and how to actually achieve that number. There really is no exact step-by-step method that's taught you in school to get there, and when I entered the workforce about 12 years ago, I was shocked to find out a few things. I was shocked that 99% of my coworkers just thought retirement age was over the age of 60, and that by investing in a 401k and saving my money, that by the time I was 60 or 65 years old, I could retire. When I questioned my coworkers as to why retirement age was only 60 and up, they said I'd be stupid to think that I could retire earlier and that this was the only way they knew to retire.
Retire? You are serious?
It seemed like everywhere I looked, the only people retiring early were those that were making boku bucks after selling their startup or having equity in a company that went public, or someone who got hit by a bus and got a massive settlement. But I'm happy to report that I've learned a lot since 12 years ago, and retiring early is actually a lot more straightforward than it seems, and it can be achievable so long as you break down your goals and do some planning. So let's get into how to do that step by step together. Step one is to figure out how much you need to retire comfortably based on your projected living expenses when you're in retirement. For example, by the time you retire, you may not have a mortgage anymore since that's been paid off. Now, if that's the case, your living expenses could just consist of food, housing maintenance, travel, and other discretionary expenses. The flip side is that if you plan to retire early, you may still have to account for bigger expenses like a mortgage, so we'll need more money in that case. So I love examples. Let's use an example here. Say you want to spend $60,000 a year without working for the rest of your life. There's a general personal finance rule out on the internet that states that we should multiply this $60,000 by 25 so that we get to a grand total of $1.5 million. That means according to this rule, we want to target $1.5 million to comfortably retire, and if we're able to reach that number, then we can withdraw 4% of that $1.5 million every single year without ever running out of money. Now the math works out so that, you guessed it, if you take 4% of 1.5 million, that's actually $60,000. Now here's the thing though, that rule is entirely dependent on how long your projected retirement actually is. And this is where most people get it wrong. If you want to retire early, this next part is going to be super important. If you're retiring at the age of 65, you may live for another 20 to 30 years, so this 4% rule would be a perfectly acceptable guideline. However, if you want to retire at the age of 40, this rule needs to be changed dynamically since you'll have 40 to 50 years of not working that you need to account for and that you need to fund. The earlier you plan on retiring, the more money that you're going to need for retirement since your retirement time horizon is now longer, if that makes sense. Now, there's a great website called earlyretirementnow.com with a ton of great articles that go very technically deep into this subject. But a good rule of thumb here is that the longer you expect your retirement to be, the more conservative you should be with your retirement withdrawal rate per year. According to their research study paper on safe withdrawal rates, the chances that you run out of money using withdrawal rate of 3.5% or under is very low. That's even if your time horizon is greater than the traditional 30 years. I'm gonna leave a link to that website and the study in the description below so that you can read it later. For the sake of today's video, the rule of thumb is that your magic retirement number should be about 28 to 30x your expected annual spend. So that means if you want $60,000 a year in retirement, you should aim for between $1.7 and $1.8 million as your magic number. So now that we know how to calculate our magic number, how do we actually make that much money? $1.7 to $1.8 million, for example, is quite a lot of money. You can do so in numerous ways, but before we even talk about methods to compound wealth, we need to discuss one thing that will absolutely kill your dreams of retiring, and that's high interest rate debt. Now, not all debt is bad. There's good debt, such as having a mortgage with a low interest rate. A mortgage at least helps you build equity in a home that will be hopefully worth way more later on. The high interest rate debt I'm talking about is like credit card debt with an APR of over 15%, or if you have loans greater than 5 or 6%, or if you bought stuff online using a buy now, pay later program. We need to make sure that the debt is handled first because paying off high interest rate debt is likely to provide a better return on your money than almost any single investment out there, so it's important that we have that taken care of. Once that's paid off, we can start building our wealth in a way so that we can get to our magic number as soon as possible. So this next line is quite possibly the most important part of the video, but the fastest way to retiring early is simply maximizing your income. That's because maximizing your income while keeping your expenses low will compound your wealth and gets you to that magic number as quickly as possible. A lot of people and articles online will tell you that you need to cut out your coffee, you got to try to save 50 cents here and there, and you need to have a frugal lifestyle to make it. Now, for this video, I was browsing the frugal frugal section on Reddit, and I actually found a post that said that you can use a sprouted onion instead of a houseplant for decoration to save on costs. That's a little bit ridiculous, I know. So let me ask you guys this question, which is, would you rather stress out about having to save a few dollars a day, like on a cup of coffee, or use an onion as decoration? Or would you just rather make $100 more per day and not have to worry about any of those things? I'd personally just want more income because you can cut all the costs that you want, and that's certainly a good practice to have. But at the end of the day, we still need to maximize our earnings if we are to retire early. All right, so how do we earn more money? One of my favorite podcasts is by Naval Ravikant, where he details how to get wealthy. There are many takeaways from his 3-hour-long podcast, and I highly suggest that you guys listen to it. But here are the 3 biggest takeaways for me that helped me earn more money. Number 1, the basic rule of getting rich is that, quote, you will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not yet know how to get at scale. And to do that, he says that you should, number 2, arm yourself with specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage. In reference to specific knowledge, number 3, specific knowledge is knowledge that you cannot be trained for. If society can train you, it can train someone else and replace you. Specific knowledge is found by pursuing your genuine curiosity and passion rather than whatever is hot right now. He lays out a framework for earning more money through specific knowledge and scale. If you have a skill that can't be easily taught, or if you're really good at a specific thing, you can charge more in the marketplace for your skills. Think about what a lawyer gets paid. A lawyer gets paid a lot of money because he or she has gone through the rigors of law school, passed the bar, and has probably worked 80-hour weeks at a law firm, learning the ins and outs of law and how to interpret them for the benefit of their client. What they do for their clients is not easily replaceable, and it's because of this that they get paid a lot in their market. The same goes for a heart surgeon. Not any Joe Schmo can become a heart surgeon, but if you have the skills to be a heart surgeon, you automatically can command an amount of income that is higher than that of the average American salary. It's really hard to increase your earning potential through labor jobs like trading time for money, especially if we need to wait years between our scheduled raises at work. So a quick way to increase your earning potential is by increasing your specific knowledge, which we can either get through experience or through education. Everyone has different skills, so when it comes to maximizing your earning potential, think about the skills that you're naturally good at and see if there's an intersection between your skills and the job market. If you are interested in that podcast I referenced, I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. Okay, so now you're hopefully earning more money, or you know at least how to earn more money, but now you also need to invest your money to get to that magic number quicker. What should you invest in? When investing to grow your wealth, we should do so through the primary means of capital gains, aka the stock market. The reason we want to focus on capital gains instead of passive income streams like owning a small cash flowing business or side hustles like drop shipping or dividend income has to do with 2 reasons. The first reason is tax. Capital gains doesn't get taxed as much as dividends or ordinary income cash flow sources. If you're buying and holding stocks for the long term, your long-term capital gains tax rate then becomes 15% or maximum 20%. If you own a passive income stream that allows you to pull out cash monthly, don't forget you're going to be paying ordinary income rates on your cash flow that range between 22 to 37% for most people, which is already much higher than capital gains rates. The second reason is time. There is such a thing as completely passive income, but in most cases what you're seeing online with passive income streams is that they all require significant time investments up front. For example, some people will say that starting a YouTube channel like this one is passive income because once you make the video, it earns passive ad revenue. Well, that's true and all, but you still have to make the video, which is taking time. And the same thing goes with owning a vending machine or ATM business. You're still gonna have to go to that vending machine or that ATM to pick up the money, to maintain the machine, stock the machine, troubleshoot problems, etc. With equities, you can compound your returns and reinvest your earnings into more asset ownership rather easily. That way, you can focus your time on earning more money, which is probably going to give you the most leverage and scale when it comes to investing. Okay, so what equities should we look to invest in if we wanna do this approach? At the minimum, we should be buying ETFs that track the market. ETFs are baskets of stocks whereby making one purchase buys into a small percentage of every single company that ETF owns. This is probably the easiest way to invest your money because the S&P 500 ETF on average returns about 8% a year. You can also invest in stable growth companies that aren't going anywhere and constantly reinvesting their earnings. So companies, for example, like Google, Apple, and Amazon. If you go with this route, you're hoping that on an annualized basis, you earn slightly higher than the index benchmark of 8% a year. But again, there is some downside downside to investing, which is that stocks can fluctuate up and down, and the worst case scenario is that the market crashes when you're actually ready to retire. But assuming you invested in stocks and you made somewhat of a decent salary, let me give you 2 real-world salary examples and how soon you could retire off of them. If you're earning $90,000 a year, you're realistically seeing around $6,000 a month after tax. If you save half your income, which is pretty aggressive, and you're able to put that in the market every single month and earn a 10% return, you can feasibly retire in about 17 years. That means if you're the age of 25 earning 90K right now, you could look at retiring in your early 40s and you're able to live off of the 3.5% withdrawal rate, or it's around 55.8K a year. That's a pretty first world scenario, as in I bet most of us aren't making 90K a year and saving half. So let's actually go with another scenario, which is instead you make 60K a year and you save 33% instead. At a 60K a year salary, you're taking home $4,100 a month, and if you invest 33% of it, given the same numbers, in 24 years, you'll have $1.6 million. So in this scenario, it takes you 7 more years than our earlier example, but that means if you're 25 right now, you could still retire early before the age of 50. Now, this also assumes you're earning the same amount every single year while you're investing, which hopefully is not the case. Hopefully, we're earning more money as time goes on. It also assumes a withdrawal rate of 3.5% and that you want to live off of 55 to 60K a year in retirement. Now, hopefully you guys see that this video is a framework, because as you change all these variables, your goals and your required investment to get there is going to change as well. If you can live off less money per year in retirement, then your goals will be easier to achieve and you can probably retire even earlier. I strongly encourage you guys to take some time to project out exactly how much you think you'll need in retirement and work backwards from there. It may take you an afternoon, but it's going to be well worth it because you can get on your way to retiring early and at least have a game plan. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and leave any questions in the comments. Again, my name is Humphrey Yang, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.